Welcome to another episode of Small Bike Stuff. Finally, this is the question and answer session, and I've finally got this guy, Thomas. He decided to come all the way down from Auckland, New Zealand, to my city, which is about 2 hours away. And there is someone else that will be in this video. I've done 4 parts already. We did buying bikes in KL. We did riding from KL to Penang. Yep, and then we did crossing the border and our first half of Thailand, and then we did our final part of Thailand going into Bangkok. Andrew was here for all of those. Thomas watched them.
Yep.
He says he did. I don't know if he did. Yeah, we're just here to answer some questions that people had. We'll just crack into it, I guess. So, one person that had a lot of questions was one of the biggest fans. I'm his biggest fan. His name's Mad Dog Moray. Yeah, so this will be a different video. It's more of just a chat. There'll be less edits. It's a bit raw. Well, I'm not editing this to make it popular. If you've watched the 4 videos before this, you'll want to watch this, and cool. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. So the first question we had was about packing and gear. Basically, we did a trip on bikes. We went 2,500 Ks, and it's not that easy to pack for when you've never done it before. But yeah, what did you do, Thomas? Like, how did you work out with your packing? Because Thomas is renowned for overpacking with things that we do together, especially small bike trips, but I was really impressed.
I had a Kathmandu bag,
yeah,
and I had some organisers, the packing cells that go inside that, and just had like 7 t-shirts, and I think we'd figured out that that'd be the longest that we'd need to go, and managed to carry the bare minimum, and figured as long as I had some cash, if I didn't have it, I could buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was the biggest thing, I think. I remember saying to all of you guys, like, remember deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrushes, all that kind of stuff that you think, I don't know, it's there. People use those kind of things in other countries.
Yeah.
So you can get them. Do you remember what you bought?
I don't remember exactly.
You bought tools.
I bought a lot of tools.
And it did come in handy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the longest trip I'd done before this one, though, was probably 2 or 3 days on a bike.
Yeah.
So
same.
It was a bit of a mix-up trying to pack enough, but I'm also used to taking like 1 change of clothes to suit.
Yeah, and we had a week before we even left on the bikes.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a week. It was about 3 or 4 days. 3 or 4 days before we left on the bikes. This is the riding uniform, basically.
This is what we always wear.
Yeah. But when you're in, I guess, in another country, you don't know what you're in for, so you've got other pairs of pants and whatever.
And a classic example of that is, okay, so I took quite a big backpack, like for backpacking around the world. Not a small one, a big thing that could carry I don't know how many litres of stuff. And I spent a lot of money on that quite a few years ago. And then it came to the evening before we left. No, it was the morning of us leaving, and I couldn't fit it anywhere on my bike.
Oh.
And so I put all the stuff that none of us wanted. We ditched a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
we left it in an alley. Some guy like picked it up.
No, it was behind our hotel that we were staying in. And it was behind a bin, and I made sure, like, I held it up to the security camera, and was like, all good, I'm leaving it here.
Yeah.
Someone take this.
Someone use it.
Yeah, and I'm sure they did. But a long story short, you can take 20 kgs or 30 kgs on the plane, depending on what airline you use. And we maxed. Did you max out? I didn't even think I took half. I took maybe 15 kilograms of stuff.
The way there wasn't a concern.
Because that's the other thing you have to remember. If you're going to be riding a bike the full distance and carrying it, in our case, those backpacks were on our backs for every single day. And you think it's fine, but at the end of
At the end of the first day,
7 or 8 hours on a bike, it gets heavy.
It gets really heavy. It's sweaty. It's 35 degrees, 100% humidity, or very close to that. And it just was not fun. The most useful things we took were tools. In all honesty, the only thing we really needed to take from New Zealand was long things to wear on the bottom, shoes and underwear. Our top layers, me and Andrew, we completely ditched what we had planned to wear on the top, and we bought stuff over there. We ended up buying long cotton button-up shirts, because we wanted sun protection.
And airflow as well.
Yeah.
I did the same. I'd taken my full riding jacket with me.
Yes.
And then didn't end up wearing it the whole trip. I
Not
just
once.
wore a black t-shirt the whole time.
We took our vests as well, which you might be able to see on the corner of the image. And we wore those once on the first day.
To pick up our bikes.
To pick up the bikes.
Yeah. So the second day, and then that was it, and we got rid of them straight away. Packed them in our little front baskets, which are really, really useful. So packing, as far as gear goes, you'll figure it out. But weight, keep it down. don't take much. Toiletries, sure, take whatever you want, but like a lot of airlines don't like big cans of deodorant and things like that. So just get that over there. It's all available. And tools. Tools is the biggest thing. But unfortunately, we ended up. We'll get to that later, I'm sure. But we ditched them.
The tools were great, but they were very heavy, and the only place I could fit them was in my top box. So I noticed that when riding, the centre of gravity was very high.
But the other thing that we weren't aware of was how accessible all the small little bike shops were to get repairs done. So the only thing, so we could have gone maybe slightly lighter on the tools and had the bare basics to do enough to limp us to the next shop.
100%. I mean, when I got a puncture, I was the only person that got a puncture on the whole trip, and it was kind of halfway through, and not one of us were like, oh, let's try fix it on the side of the road. It was quick, let's find a bike shop. And we did. We eventually found one, and it was fine, and we got it sorted. But I mean, I shouldn't have underestimated that, because I did know how many bike shops there were around there, and I just...
Also, I think we're so used to riding in New Zealand where a lot of the other trips that we've done have been in the middle of nowhere.
With nothing.
You've
not even a house you could go to and get something from.
Whereas we've got to carry tubes and whatever. That was the other thing, because we did buy, when we left, we went to Mr. DIY and we bought the
tyre goo.
Well,
it came from the bike shop.
It came from the bike shop. It was tyre slime.
Okay.
We got a few things from Mr. DIY.
And
awesome shop.
Didn't end up. It leaked all through your bike.
Like your bike.
My bike.
Yeah.
All through the
Under the
underseat
seat.
storage.
Yeah. That served you right for having underseat storage, because he was the only one that did.
Yeah.
A whale wave. Yeah.
So packing was fine. It was what it was. We dealt with it and we figured it out. I mean, even when we got our tools out and we started fixing bikes along the way, people would say to us, we had 3 people say to us, a couple in Malaysia, a couple in Thailand, are you guys mechanics?
Yeah.
And
we didn't know that.
Yeah, because they were just confused at the fact that we would even bother to do it. So if you try, you must be a mechanic. But no, this is what we were used to.
But you've got to flick that back, so that's probably an advantage for us also riding a bike that a lot of the locals rode that distance versus if you were riding it on, say, a bigger BMW or a Harley, you may not have the ability to just roll in.
100% right. And in the trip, I think in the 3rd video, which has the first part of Thailand, you can see at some points there are big bikes going past us, possibly, and if you can't, well, there was. We saw them, and they were going on weekend trips from Malaysia into Thailand and back again, and if you had a R1200 GS BMW and something happened to it while you were in Thailand, good luck getting anything done right then and there. So I guess that kind of sums it up. Take as little as possible. You'll probably get rid of it. If you do take lots of stuff, don't be attached to it, because you'll probably get rid of it. One of the other main things that was asked, point number 2 in this video, will be money. How to sort money, what we did for money over there, how much did we take, all that kind of stuff. While I'm not really going to talk about the flights and all that kind of stuff in this. Flights booked and paid for beforehand. You can get to Malaysia for however much from your country. I don't know how much that'll be anymore. Things have changed a bit since we filmed. Well, just Google it, you'll figure it out. $5,000 to $6,000 per person, maybe, New Zealand. Spending money for the whole trip.
I think I sold my Land Cruiser for $5,000.
Yes.
And that was almost all the money I needed.
Yeah.
That paid... the whole trip was within that bracket, I think, from memory, minus...
You are right.
Some of the other motorcycle bits.
Yep. You're correct. We did plan... Okay, so the trip plan was, hey guys, I could take you around Southeast Asia because I really wanted someone else to do it with me. Who better than these two? And I reckon we could do it for $5,000 to $6,000 all in. And we totally could have. But I spent way too much money on bike parts.
Yeah, so I think spending money, I think I'd taken $1,500, $2,000.
Did you have cash or did you?
Nah, so I
had a card.
I think I'd allocated $1,500 to $2,000 New Zealand for the trip.
Yeah.
And I had a cash card.
Yeah. Generic, every country has them, your country will.
Yeah, I took a bit of cash with me initially for Malaysia, and then the rest of it had the cash card set up. I could check the balance on my phone, could go to a local ATM and pull the money out.
He just had a big pile of cash.
Big wads of
so
cash.
if you ever see Andrew travelling overseas, mug him.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll probably get a good load of money. But I did the same as Andrew. I had a lot of cash. Not the whole amount for the trip, but I did have a lot of cash on me. There's no need to do that. Whether you've got your local bank card, whether it's a debit, Visa kind of thing, or whatever it is, you can withdraw from an ATM almost anywhere.
But the other thing you have to remember is a lot of those countries do deal in cash. And if you don't have cash on you, you are not going to get anywhere.
Yep.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't pay for market items with a fucking
or
card.
to repair your motorbike with a card.
Yeah, unless you're in a shopping mall, in
Yeah.
which case you can pay with a card, and none of those things are motorcycle shops. So, yeah, point proven, 100%.
100%, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing that's is worth mentioning is the accommodation. So cost of accommodation, where we stayed, what we did. In the big cities, I have no hesitation in Southeast Asia staying in a hotel. A hotel with decent facilities, or of course an Airbnb, which is just an apartment building that's as nice as what a hotel would be, but it's just privately owned and got its own facilities such as a kitchen and all that kind of stuff. We stayed genuinely right in the centre of Kuala Lumpur, meters from the Petronas Twin Towers.
You could see it outside the window. It was great.
Yeah.
Good spot with an absolutely gorgeous view out of the apartment building window.
And to put it in perspective, I mean, back then in 2019, the Airbnb was as nice as a hotel I'd stayed in previously, and was about a third of the cost for the same amount of time. So, yeah, you can do stuff like that, and in those countries, you can spend $10 to $15 a night max on accommodation if you want to, and be comfortable in your own area somewhere. You might just have basic AC and just a single bed, but whatever, it's a room and you're fine. How many places did we stay? We stayed in Kuala Lumpur was the nice place. We went to Penang. That was just Georgetown, a little skinny little place with small rooms.
It was a good spot though.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was really central. Then we went to Songkhla. We stayed with someone local. Stayed in a local house that was a 5-story townhouse.
No AC.
Yeah, no AC, fan only, and it was fine. You just got totally used to it. And the authenticness of the local experience made up for it.
Yeah.
The very noisy fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it was so tired that as soon as you hit the pillow, it was...
Yeah, you're out to it.
You had a
Absolutely.
pillow?
Yeah,
I
well,
don't remember me.
basically, there's 3 of us lying next to each other, all sharing the same thin sheet to cover us, because it was like you wanted to protect yourself from the fan a little bit. Otherwise, you kind of get sick. It was good. So yeah, I mean, as long as you are close with your friends, it's not too much of an issue.
Yeah. We were very close.
Yeah, very, very close. So accommodation, you could genuinely spend a week in Southeast Asia if you wanted to for $100.
Yep.
Easily. We didn't. We probably spent about $200 to $300 per person for the whole trip.
Which is still very cheap.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one night in a place here.
Yeah, that's one night in a place in New
Spent a
Zealand.
lot more than that on accommodation
Oh,
when I was in America.
I'm
yeah.
forgetting the longer period. Andrew and I finished in Bangkok. Left Bangkok later than Thomas. Thomas had to leave early because he's
I had to go home
gallivanting.
for a wedding.
Yeah, gallivanting around the world after that too.
Yep.
And it just became one of those things where we paid a bit more. I think we ended up paying like $450-$500 all up, but it was still cheap. That was all up over 3 weeks overseas, so it was really cool. Let's get down and deep and dirty into the logistics of getting a phone and connecting it to the internet. You go in the airport to the nearest desk that looks official and actually is a single phone brand. I often pays to Google beforehand what phone brands or telecommunications companies are in Malaysia, what ones are in Thailand. Write down the 3 or 4 names somewhere accessible. And then when you walk through the airport, just after you, I think after you get your passport checked, that will be the first thing you see before you get your bags.
Yeah.
Before you get your bags, and
You
saw 5 booths, and I saw the first one I recognised.
Yep.
And it was $20 or something.
Yeah, you could buy
You just give them your phone.
You could buy like 7-day or 30-day.
Yes, that's right.
Tourist sims.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
have data, internet. That's the same thing.
I bought the 30-day one because it had a way higher data limit, and I wanted to take videos and upload them along the way. The only time we didn't have data was on the flight.
Yeah.
You land in Malaysia, there's Wi-Fi in the airport.
Yeah.
That was it. So we had full 3 or 4G from leaving New Zealand to arriving back in New Zealand, basically, for the whole trip.
Which is quite incredible because you can go around the corner here and lose reception for a
Yeah.
while.
But that leads us on to another thing that we used the corner stores for, which was food. Food in Southeast Asia. You'd never been. What did you think?
It was quite good. I think the very first day when we went looking to buy motorbikes, I had what have I got myself in for moment when we stopped at this place that our driver recommended, and it was really good, but they brought out plates with like chicken feet and
Fish
other...
balls.
Meat, balls of meat like substance.
Used to be meat.
Yeah, and that was well above my comfort zone.
And I'm not getting into the whole, oh my gosh, they're eating weird animals thing. It looks super processed.
It was
wasn't
just a pale ball.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's just very different to what I'd eat normally. But it lasted pretty good the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
There were various roadside food stands. There was 7-Elevens. There was what was that place in Songkhla that we spent like 13 New Zealand dollars for 4 of us for breakfast and ate so many.
Oh, the small.
Yeah. There was in basically every place you ever go in Thailand. There's decent ethnic Chinese community from hundreds of years ago, and they have steamed
noodle
breakfast places.
Insert picture here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's little bamboo steamers full of dumplings and seafood and fish balls and coloured balls that are things. And it was really, really yum. It was cool.
But it was great. Like those meat sticks, mystery meat sticks, and amphoa.
Yeah.
Amphoa, sorry.
It's fine.
I just remember.
I used to live there, so I'm going to be a stickler about the pronunciation. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, good food. Good food.
Yeah. What about you? Yeah, no problems. Andrew will eat food.
It was fine. The biggest thing for me was just there's no forks.
Yeah.
And
no. There's no knives.
Yo, you get a spoon.
Yeah.
Or
Spoon and
chopsticks.
Yeah.
And I had to. The very first place we stopped, it's like chopsticks only.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
had to learn real fast.
Yeah. I don't know. I have thought I was good with chopsticks, but. And when you're actually eating a bowl of rice with chopsticks, you're like, damn it, this is harder than I thought.
Yeah, I was good with food. I think I only had 2 instances, which was that first day where I was like, oh, and then the second day where we were getting the alloy wheels for our bikes and got sent to the food shop, and that was just another place that I was like, nah. And
It was good. They were very brightly coloured chicken.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, there's a decent line, and basically they've got a glass cabinet at the front. There's all sorts of different things with eggs, fish, all just like deep fried whole fish with all the bones and everything included, and then all sorts of different chicken wings and bones, massive chunks, all different colours. I think it wasn't like a set meal. You just went, I want that, and that, and then they put it on a plate of rice
with sauce.
And you go yes or no, and they just get like 8 different sauces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, boom. And then you just go pay, and that was amazing. It was spicy.
It was very good though.
Yeah, it was such good food.
Well, you didn't touch any of it.
No, but not that place. But I'm talking about other food in other locations. Yeah.
I'm sure you would have liked it. I think it was the second day. It was confronting.
Yeah.
And like you look, and there's like flies, and it's been outside for probably most of the day.
Yeah.
And you saw them going from the kitchen to the kitchen with a wheeling cart.
Yeah.
This like the ground's here, the cart's here, and the chicken's kind of hanging off and dragging. And it's fine. Like we were totally sweet, but yeah, it's definitely something that if you're not used to, it's like okay. 7-Eleven's worth mentioning. We ate way too much food there. It's easy in Thailand, especially. And in Malaysia, Family Mart was more popular. But to go there and they have instant toasted sandwiches, burgers, hot dogs, like just Frankfurter. Yeah. And you could just get them and they put them in the microwave and they slice them and give you sauce. And you're like, cool.
Or roadside food stalls and markets.
Meat sticks with sticky rice.
What about the Datsun food truck?
Yeah, we'll throw a photo in for this. This was really impressive. There's like a Datsun 720.
Yeah.
Lowrider. Yeah.
Roofless.
Yeah.
It had the roof chopped off.
And the whole tray was just covered in meat sticks.
It was barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was an enterprising young chap selling his food.
The other thing was you get to a point where you're just like, man, I want some fresh fruit.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Because
it's easy to eat processed, just easy stuff.
Oh, not that.
And this sounds real bad because you're in like the flavor haven of the world, like Asia. There's just so many incredible things you can eat. But that's one thing I wanted to mention is when you're riding along at 70 to 76 kilometers per hour, I think it was.
All day.
The food stalls are hard to distinguish because it's usually the front of someone's house, and they've got maybe a little bit of kind of advertising. There's no English writing whatsoever, and there might be some people sitting there, but that equally could just be someone's house where people are sitting and having a meal. And so, and then you miss them, and there's another one. And I think on the day we rode from Phuket to Chumpon, which is the place of the meat sticks, we decided we wanted to eat, and it took us 2 hours, I think, to actually stop and choose a place. But even we went past about 15 different places, and eventually there was like, okay, this one has a sign, it has a picture of Coke.
Restaurant.
We'll stop here.
That was
yeah.
good.
So yeah, that's kind of one thing.
Food's good. Food's cheap.
I think it'd be more adventurous next time and just stop and just be like,
Yeah, here's some money.
Yeah.
Give me lunch.
yeah,
The
thanks.
place you took us to in Bangkok, and we ended up with
Noodles?
7 or 8 bowls of noodles each.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For breakfast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Absolutely. And that kind of stuff was everywhere along the way. It wasn't a big shop front. So, yeah, just being brave and getting out of your comfort zone and just...
Not eating eggs Benny from Coffee Club.
Yeah.
None of us got sick, though.
No, not
Not that
once.
we should, but
No.
it wasn't an issue.
Even eating from food carts.
Yeah, absolutely. Food carts.
And eating things that we weren't exactly sure what they were.
100%. And the food carts are outside with food, like sitting there, and there are like insects and bugs coming around and being like, "Oh, that looks yum," because it's been sitting there for a few hours. But they generally like just douse it on the grill real quickly before they give it back to you.
Yeah.
Just get the bugs off, and you are fine. The only time I lived in Southeast Asia for 2 years, the only time I ever got sick was when I ate a pizza.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about that. Laundry. Your dad wanted to know about laundry. What do you do?
Fair enough.
It's a logical thing. We didn't do any.
No, we
Until
At the
the
start.
very end, we didn't do anything.
we washed on the day before we left Kuala Lumpur.
Did we?
Yeah.
Got a
I-
washing machine?
in our Airbnb.
Oh.
We did that, and then that
Did we?
I'm pretty
Where was
sure.
it?
I remember drying stuff
It was
over the
in-
couch and things.
was it
It
in the
Yeah, no,
kitchen?
but it was in the kitchen. Yeah.
Oh. I don't remember.
was a front
I thought it
opening
was a
one.
dishwasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Food crumbs in the clothes. Andrew's been putting the plates in there. That's why they come out smashed. No, so we did that, and then we had how many days were we on bikes for? Because that seemed
7.
like an eternity.
It was 6 nights, 7 days.
Yeah, so then we washed when we got to...
Bangkok.
Yeah.
And the city was absolutely chocker with pollution. You could not see further than like probably 800 metres to a kilometre in the distance, when on a clear day you can see 20 or 30 k's, like way into the distance. And so you put your clothes outside, 100% humidity, come back 24 hours later and they're still damp.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to bring them all inside. We went to the local Home Pro, which is like a home improvement kind of shop, and bought clothing racks and things to hang things from.
Yeah.
And how
We had that one with the pigs on it.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
We were like, gosh, what do we do? So laundry, you can do it along the way. If you're staying in a decent hotel, as long as you get them your laundry by, say, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, they will often have it back there by 9 a.m. in the morning. But if you are on the road, that can be a bit of a problem. And it's generally a bit more expensive. Other thing is just to open your phone on Google Maps and just search laundry.
Yep.
And usually there'll be a local person doing it, and it's done by the kg, and that's usually like $3 or $4. For a load.
I think I ended up buying stuff along the way, like a couple of shirts.
And throwing other things away.
Yeah,
Or
Some of them got
you
gross.
they
guys
did.
Yeah.
picked up your long sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
When you're wearing a long sleeve shirt for 8 hours with a backpack on, and it's just that area is liquid
yeah.
for the whole 8 hours, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of the stuff was not worth ever using again. So
No.
laundry was easy. We just got it sorted. Yeah, okay, biggest question, and probably the most involved and detailed, I guess, would be the border crossings. There was a lot of thought that went into this trip beforehand. I was planning it for about a year before we went, and like even to the point where, go for your life, even to the point where I was like asking these guys questions about what they wanted to do, or did they have any queries. I asked them that so much that they just like, no, shut up.
Just do it.
We'll just turn up on the day and we'll go.
Let us know when we have to be at the airport. You'll sort the rest out, yeah.
So I figured out that you needed to have either permission to take a bike across the border from the owner of the bike, or the bike could be yours. And the easiest country to get bikes into your name was Malaysia. So it's not a difficult process. If you do a bit of research, you'll be able to figure that out. I'm not going to go into detail about how we got them into our name here. But once they're in our name, you have a document that says me, my bike,
I think I still have that. I might
Yeah,
find it.
I think I have the ownership papers still.
Yeah.
And you have to present those at the border. But one thing, being a land border, and what you'll find with most land borders in the world, I imagine, which we are not used to in New Zealand, especially ones that are popular for crossing, is there will be facilities on both sides where enterprising locals will do all your documentation for you.
Yeah.
You turn up with a bike and say, I've got this bike, and they say, cool, give me this, and this. Give them $10 and you've got
But
paperwork.
that was the other thing. Didn't you have to arrange when we were going from Malaysia into Thailand?
Yes.
There were the places that sold. You had to have insurance in Thailand.
Yeah, you
before
have
could
to-
cross the border.
Buy insurance for your motorcycle before you go into Thailand, but I highly doubt that would have ever actually been something we could use.
No, totally.
But you had
you've
to do
got
it.
the bit of paper. To
Yeah.
have the box ticked. Yeah.
I think it was like 30 baht worth of insurance
Hmm.
or something like that. It was cheap. It was 30 or 300, which is either $1 or $5. And it was so cheap. And we paid money for the documentation. Rode another probably 20 minutes to the border, and the Malaysian side was real clear.
Yeah.
We rode up, and there was a first checkpoint that was nothing to do with your passports. That was just the security.
Yeah.
And they did stop us because we were foreigners on motorcycles,
Yeah.
and not in a bad way. And they said passports, because they're just like, well, maybe these guys don't know where they're going. I assume.
They might be lost.
Yeah, and they picked out my New Zealand passport. I showed him, and he's like, "Oh, New Zealand, All Blacks, sheep,
Rugby.
cows, rugby, cool," and sent us on our way. So we did a little bit of a squirm, and you've got to understand the border's probably about 800 meters wide at this point. In other places, it's not.
Yeah.
But this is where you cross, so it's a bit of a snaky kind of pattern, and you end up coming to a booth. You hand your passport over. Take your helmet off. I think I took my helmet off.
Yep.
And we had to wait in line. I don't think I was first.
Nah, so what? We rode through, had to park our bike.
No,
No,
this
this
is
is before
before
that.
that.
Okay, yeah,
This
carry
is
on.
before
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So
We
then
finger
you
scanned.
you do your finger
Finger
scan.
scan.
Hand your passport over, finger scan out of the country, and boom, you've left Malaysia. And then you just ride. And I guess there's a point where Malaysia stops looking after the road and Thailand starts. And it's kind of weird. There was like roadworks. And you kind of just rode through, and then eventually there were just some buildings and a whole bunch of cars lined up in front of these booths. So we thought, cool, let's go line up in one of those booths. And then we lined up there for a couple of seconds, and I said, oh, nah, maybe we park over there.
Yep.
So we accelerated past the cars to go park, and then I saw a 7-Eleven and all this Thai writing. And that was Thailand, and we could literally, if we hadn't realised, we could have ridden into Thailand and just kept going.
Yeah.
That once you'd gone through the Malaysian side, it's totally on you to make sure that you've done things properly.
Yeah.
So we ended up going back, asking a couple of people. Some people, we just saw some bikes parked, I think.
Yeah.
Parked, followed them into a building, and there was a line, and we went to the line and handed over our passports, stamped our passports, and went on our way. So yeah, we were, and you were first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was second, you were third in this line, and Thomas went up to the line, presented his documents, disappeared, cool. He just kind of walked off. I know you waited, and I was like, "Oh, just go get your bike. Go
Yeah.
make sure the bikes are okay."
Yeah.
Because we'd left them alone, and we didn't know how much were there. There's a lot of stuff in our top boxes. I had a whole big ball kit in there. You had all your tools. And then I went second and handed over my documents. They were like, oh, yeah, another foreigner. They must be together. Same process. Let me through. I waited on the other side for Andrew. Andrew presented all his documentation. He gave over all of his documentation. I just given them my passport, basically.
Yeah.
And that was it. They looked at him and then looked up at him, looked down at the paperwork, up at him, looked back at me, and just kind of gasped and said to him, "Do you have a motorcycle in Thai?" And I quickly stepped forward, not wanting to get in trouble because you're not meant to go back to the counters. That's a big no-no.
Yeah.
And said, "Yeah, we have motorcycles." And she said, "All of you?" And I said, "Yeah. My friend has a motorcycle. I've got a motorcycle. He's got a motorcycle." And she basically said, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
"Oh no, go and get your friend." So I ran back and got Thomas, and it
Yep.
turned out we hadn't handed over the motorcycles for the documents for our motorcycles. So technically,
I think it was just a thing of we gave what she'd asked for.
yes, we did. She asked us for a certain document. We gave that, which is your entry into the country, your passport, and that was it. And then when he presented the motorcycle document, she's like, okay, panic. Let's go get them. I went and got Thomas. They all got stamped. But if we hadn't done that, it would have been a case of us just entering into the country without our motorbikes legally being there.
Yeah.
And it would have looked like we had smuggled them over the border and could have got us into trouble. So number one, make sure you actually get your passport stamped before you just ride straight through into Thailand, because that was possible.
Yep.
And number two, make sure you tell them you got a motorcycle if you have a motorcycle.
Yep.
Money? No, it was free for us. The actual border crossing itself.
Yeah, I think there was signs saying, "Don't give us money, no bribes."
Yeah, 100%. And depends what country you come from. I think we got 30 days automatic entry into the country at that point. And yeah, you do have to have proof that you are going to leave the country eventually and stuff like that as well. They can ask for that, so you really need to be prepared. But do a bit of research, you'll figure it out. It's not hard. YouTube comment. Where's your phone? So Twitchy in Thailand asked us, and we didn't have many questions on the video, but I had a lot messaged to us from one person. So that's cool. I'm so happy to ask.
Thanks to our loyal followers and subscribers.
Yeah, and Andrew's dad. What was it like getting the bikes across the border from Malaysia into Thailand? Well, the border crossing itself was fine, as we've talked about. There's no specific thing apart from handing over the documentation for the bikes that was really difficult.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do anything to the bikes.
No.
We didn't have to change anything.
We were all going with our Malaysia plates.
Yeah, you're allowed your Malaysian plates because you had bought your bike a month's worth of insurance on that plate into the country, so it was fine. And insurance and motorbike licenses and other fees. Good question. Insurance, yes. If you don't go with travel insurance, you are a absolute meathead.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, just you might as well not wear a helmet and crash and.
Before you leave the country.
Yeah, it's just there's no point going without insurance. Now, one thing is to be covered on a motorcycle, you have to legally be licensed to ride that motorcycle in your country. Generally, check the policy of the insurance company. I went through 5 or 6 companies and then found one that said we will cover you for what you are licensed to ride in New Zealand.
Yep.
And that specific terminology meant that we would have been covered no matter what. We got international licenses, which are really important. You can get them from your country, and it needs to have the motorcycle bit stamped. Otherwise, if you get pulled over, there's a chance the police officer will be like, heck, you didn't have the motorcycle bit stamped. I got pulled over on a recent trip to Thailand about a year after we went together. I was going down the road, and I didn't have my international license on me. It was the one day I didn't have it, and I got pulled over. And I got fined, but that was fine. It was okay. So, insurance, just have it. And make sure you're covered hefty amounts because, make sure you're covered for a lot of money, millions. Like seriously, we were. I think my medical cover was $10 million.
Yeah, well, it's real easy for something to happen. Like we came across the aftermath of a few accidents.
I saw one happen at
the
petrol station.
Yes.
Tourist girl fall off.
Yeah, just drove straight into the gutter and went over the handlebars. Bike got smashed up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where they'll take you to the nearest hospital. And if that so happens to be a private hospital, even if it's a government hospital, it's still going to cost money. But if it's a private hospital, especially, they won't operate on you until they know you can pay for it. Yeah. Or number 2. They'll get you to a point where you're not going to die instantly, and then they won't operate on you further until you pay your bill. Yeah, a lot of people will get insurance and not actually realise they're not covered. That's the big thing. You've really got to look deep into it. So, passports, visas, that was easy. We just entered into each country. It was fine. We were fine. Motorbike licenses. Yeah. Well. We are all licensed to ride motorcycles in New Zealand. Different countries have different rules. They might have like a 3-tiered system with learning and then medium level kind of riding and then your full permit. And we have a similar system, and we are all able to ride motorcycles in New Zealand, so that's fine. And we were covered for that over there, so I can't answer that for you. You need to do your own research and find out, will you be covered for what you're riding in that country. I will eventually take other people over there, probably these guys again someday, and other people. I will not take anyone who doesn't have a motorcycle license from their country. If you don't, it's too bad, go get one.
Yes, not that hard.
No, absolutely. Just time and effort and money. And I guess the last question is kind of combined. It's 2 things. Would you do it again, and what would you do differently if you would do it again?
Yeah, I'd definitely do it
again. The same route? You would do that same route again?
I think, yes, I could probably quite happily do the same route again, but I'd like to stretch it over a longer time period, ride shorter distances, have some more time to stop and look at things you come across on the side of the road, maybe spend a bit more time in each of the places. Like I'd love to have spent more time in Georgetown and check that out, as just the old buildings there were fantastic, but we rolled in pretty late and left pretty early.
We were there for less than 12 hours.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
And even
we're sleeping for 10 of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, just probably, more time, less Ks. Some of the days got a bit long.
I'd say 200 Ks max a day. We did 450 maximum in a single day, and that was just too much.
Yeah, well, we rode through one of the national parks and there were signs saying waterfalls, 3Ks, national gardens, monuments and stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, man, it would have been so cool to have stopped and had a look at that. Or even some of the tiny towns that we came across.
Just find a place and stay there for the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
Have a wander around.
What about you? Could you do that same route
Oh
again?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just same thing. Much more time.
Yeah.
Maybe not plan places to stay and just see where you end up each day.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
You'd be able to find somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah. And bear in mind, we kind of had a limited amount of time off in New Zealand from our full-time jobs,
Yeah.
and we just did what we had to do. Even if I did do this again and I do have a full-time job and I'm only having 2 or 3 weeks off, I still probably wouldn't book as much as we did, because that meant we had to be in a certain place every single night. But in saying that, if we didn't do that, it would have messed up everything down the track, which we had solidly lined up, especially Bangkok.
Because I think I only had 3 nights.
You had 3 nights spare.
3 nights in Bangkok.
Mm.
And even then, that was great, but
Not enough.
not enough. Yeah.
No. Yeah, we did a whole bunch of stuff after you left, which would have been really cool to share with you, but we didn't get the chance.
Obviously the basics, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I would. You saw more than most people. You rode into the city on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Most people land in a plane and get a
Lane,
flash taxi all the way to the city and don't leave the hotel.
Stay in one street.
Yeah.
lane splitting for an eternity in heavy traffic.
Yeah, literally 20 or 30 kilometers just lane splitting.
Yeah, motorcycle taxis.
Yeah,
Do try it.
yeah.
Um,
I'd do it again. 100% longer. Got to be longer. I mean, if you think about it and put it into perspective, I would love to know how long Ed March took to do the distance that we did, because he did Malaysia to UK, and a part of that was the exact same way we went. And down the south, he actually put his bike, south of Thailand, he put his bike on a ferry and went over to the island. And on that island, they didn't have cars; they only had motorcycles. So he just went blitzing up into the hills on his bike.
Because that was one that was that.
We were going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
We were not the same place, a different island, a different location completely, but we were planning on going.
It's James Bond Island. It wasn't.
No, so there is a James Bond Island. Well, we were going to go on one right at the south of Thailand, and we didn't end up doing it, which, to be honest, was good for time. We would have got there at 10, 11 p.m. and left the next morning at 5 a.m. It would have been a waste of time.
Yeah.
2 hours on a ferry.
But at the end of it, no complaints about that entire trip.
Oh, no.
No, none. I'd do it again in the same amount of time if I had to.
Yeah, 100%.
On maybe a minimum 150, so a bike that can hold 100k per hour.
Yeah.
Not that you need to do it the whole trip, but when there are long straight roads, which there are for a lot of the time, 76 is very different to 100. Yeah. And it takes an hour or 2 off your day.
Yeah.
So that's massive. That's what I do. I do it on a much longer distance. But yeah.
I think that was the thing at the start. We're like, oh, we'll just take it easy on these things. We've got, how many Ks was it? 2,500 kilometres. We're like, oh, we've got that many Ks to do. So it was like, we'll take it easy. And by the end of it, it was these things were getting rung wide open throttle from the moment they started to the moment they turned off.
Mm. And there'd be portions of the trip where Andrew had a 110cc and we had a 100, and his was newer than both of our bikes. Yours is 2004, I think.
Yep.
Mine was 98. Yours is 2008.
Yeah.
And that less usage over its life did massive wonders. He could sit there wide open at 90 kilometers per hour, but he had to sacrifice that top speed to stay with us. If Andrew got in front, it would take me about 30 minutes. 30 minutes to catch up to him, and it would involve him having to slack off on the throttle for some reason. Otherwise,
and you'd be lying on your seat.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I do lots of things different, but at the same time, if you've never done it before and you've got $5,000 or $6,000 of New Zealand money, and you want to go overseas and have the time of your life, and hopefully flights aren't really expensive, in this new world. You can do it. You can jump over there and do it, and bare bones have amazing time and come home.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did it quite nicely. You could probably do it on less money too.
We weren't slumming it.
No,
not at all.
Fine hotel rooms.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, by the way.
That's all right. Might come down again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, it's really good to have you here. And that's about it.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks for watching Small Bike Stuff. We'll probably stop talking about this trip now, 2 years later. Finally.
Yeah, milk and content.
Yeah, I know. Sweet.